Good morning. It's now January 2nd. Yesterday we done the prep work on the hull and we put on two sections of cloth which we wetted out, and if you remember we did it by laying the cloth on and then we mixed the epoxy, 2 parts resin, 1 part hardener. We used a medium hardener and we poured it on top of the cloth, and then with a roller and a heat gun we just chased it through. Today on the same 2 sheets we're going to do no rubbing down, no other prep work, but we are going to go on top. And the reason that we can do this is that if we rub our thumbnail in to the epoxy and we can make a small mark, then we're going to get a chemical to chemical bond. There's no wax with this epoxy, there's no blush to get rid of, so we're just going to go on top. And what we're going to do today is the ridges that are left by the cloth we're going to fill, and we're going to fill that with a mixture of flag, which is filleting, laminating and gluing. It's a thicker resin. We're going to use medium hardener again with it, but this time we're going to add some workshop mix to it. Workshop mix is a blend of wood flour, carboxyl and T-cell, which are cellulose fibres, and we use cellulose fibres in a replacement for chopped strand mat. We just find that it holds epoxy better. It's nicer to use basically. We're going to put on a creamy buttery goop and just spread it over. Once that's set we'll cut back to and that will be the final shaping of the hull done. The only thing that we'll do on then is 2 coats of sealing epoxy and the copper coat for the anti-fouling. It's fairly cold today, so I'll say we're going to try and get on as quickly as we can. The tools that we'll be using today will be a battery drill for mixing and a couple of spreaders, and that's going to be it. We'll have 2 gloves on the hands again because we will be getting glue fairly everywhere. And that's basically today's job. So I'm going to finish the tea, go and get the glue, which is, as I say, in the glue house, bring that through. We're going to have to keep taking it back and changing it today because it is so cold. I want to keep it as warm as I can. I may even use the microwave just to warm it up, but we'll see how we go on that. So 20 minutes to finish my tea. Might have to walk the dogs up the lane, and then we're going to crack on. See you in a bit. Right, welcome back again. Just about to start, so I thought I'd invite you along on this little job this morning. We're going to start with just getting things ready. So just bear with me a couple of minutes while we just go through what we're going to use and some of the things that I do before I start. Today we're using spreaders, but most spreaders in the workshop have been used 2 or 3 times. So what we tend to do is, before we start again, although we've cleaned them and we do reuse them, we get hold of a used sanding disc and we take off the rough edge. Yeah, just a couple of minutes, just going over it, just to get rid of any little burry marks that are going to stand out, that's going to snag the epoxy when we're doing it. So we give them a couple of minutes of just cleaning them up, just to get rid of the snaggy bits. And that's about it. And we can run a finger up and down it, and provided it feels okay, it's not going to be finished, it's going to be sanded. It doesn't have to be that perfect, but obviously we don't want big troughs left in the stuff that we're putting on. So that's the spreader's done. Part 2. Right way up, yes, I've got right way up for a change. Gloves. I keep telling people about use of gloves. The epoxy that we use is made by Mass in the United States. Apart from their 5-to-1 mix, fuel and water, portable water, the others are based on castor oil. So they're not crude oil, as in a majority of the epoxies we're used to in Europe. This has a couple of advantages. It makes them blend very, very easily. It means that they don't produce so much heat when they're mixing. They do get warm, don't get me wrong, they get warm. But you don't get the pots catching fire, smoking the place out, as you do with a lot of the 5-to-1s. So we use mainly in the workshop the 2-to-1 mixes, low vis or flag. In all cases we use gloves. Now, when we used to use West many years ago, I found that if I got any epoxy on my skin, I would immediately start to have a reaction. I'd start to get a burning sensation, and I'd have to literally dip my hand in a bucket of water that I always kept with me, get it off, and then if it was a bad one, I was out of commission for the day. I also started to find that on this part of my hand, I got very, very bad psoriasis, and I became sensitized to those sorts of epoxies. With these ones from Mass, I don't have a problem. And yes, I get the epoxy on my skin. Yes, I agree with everybody who's going to write and say, no, you shouldn't, but we do. Bit of a problem up the top there, yeah, and I get it on there as well. But it doesn't cause me a problem. At the very worst, it's peeling off like sunburned skin, you know, when it goes all flaky and I lose a few hairs. That bit I don't like. But it doesn't cause me the problems that we used to have. Right, so we've got the gloves on. The only tools we're going to be using today are the battery drill for mixing, because we're going to be mixing 1.5, 2.5 litres at a go. So we've got the good old battery drill for doing this. Back in a minute. Right, you'll find that I disappear off every now and again. I'm basically trying to cut the clips into more manageable pieces before I start chopping them about, because I'm not very good at it, and I admit to that. So if you're looking for Hollywood productions, don't get it here, but we hope you get the message that we're trying to put across. Okay, battery drills, tools in the workshop generally. For majority of people, I would say buy the tool that just about does the job. The reason that I say this is that if you're going to build a dinghy, don't go and spend a fortune on drills and other tools. B&Q do pretty good stuff, Wicks, other places like that. They will get messed up with epoxy. So it's basically bought for the job. You'll probably get a year's use out of it, and then, to be honest, it's going in the bin. So don't spend a fortune. If, on the other hand, you are doing something bigger, you are going to need something more powerful, and you're going to have to spend a bit more money. But try to take care of them. We tend to give everything a good coating of WD-40 once it's finished. We try and keep the glue off as much as we can, but it doesn't help much. But again, we only buy to the standard that we need. Our Hitachi drills were, I think, £99 each, and they came with 2 batteries. The reason that we went for that was that the batteries tend to be okay. It's the drill bodies that we tend to mess up, and we can buy the drill bodies at a reasonable price. So the batteries tend to last us, the drill bodies don't. It seems to be, for us, the opposite for other people, but it's purely the amount of epoxy and crap that's on there. So that tends to go through the whole gambit of stuff. Sanders are slightly different because you're using the sander on dry dust. You can blow it out. And because epoxy is so damn hard, we spend money on our sanders. We buy the best that we can on the sanders. Again, buying for the job, but we do spend good money on them. So far, we've found that DeWalt just doesn't cut it. We've had others. One of our best ones, believe it or not, was a Wicks, a Wicks professional one. It was great, but eventually it died, and we're now on to Makita. We find that the Makita range of sanders are very good, but again, we're paying quite a bit of money for them. When we use them, we make sure we blow them out, and we try and blow them out as well as we possibly can. We use the compressor, and again, a compressor in a workshop, even if it's only a little one, it's a godsend. It's great for cleaning all the crap out, because the epoxy dust, when it gets around hot bearings, will adhere to it, and it's just nasty. So we blow that out. Right, give me a couple of minutes, I'll be back again, and we will be looking at getting the mix done, and we'll be looking at workshop mix. Right, back again. Most important thing in the workshop, tea. Yesterday when we were epoxying, I didn't mention that one of the things that we tend to do is always have some epoxy left over, and we leave this in our mixing jugs. The following day we crack the jug, knock out the puck, and this gives us a couple of things. By looking through it, we can tell whether we've got air bubbles, and that shows that we've had a good mix and it's flowed. The other thing, by looking at the base to see if it's sticky. If it's sticky, we didn't mix it well enough. This one's come out nice and clean, so we mixed it well, it's clear and it's set. So we know that the epoxy that we've put on is going to be good. We tend to keep these, they make lovely paperweights for people. Come to the workshop, they pinch them. The other thing that people use them for, believe it or not, is they take them and they use hole cutters and they make themselves little bearings out of them. It works. But as I say, keep a little bit just in your mixing pot. Doesn't have to be this amount, it can be smaller, just to make sure that your mixer's gone off and it's okay. And remember, 2 parts resin, 1 part hardener. See you in a minute. Hello once again, welcome back to the workshop. It's always very difficult doing videos in a workshop because, as I say, mucky hands, and we tend to use little tools to operate it with, try and keep the epoxy off it. We're now going to start doing some mixing, so come on, let's have a go. I think that's about it. Okay. Hardener. $400. This is the flag. We can use the same container as the low vis because it's totally compatible, and we are going to have 800 of the flag. It's a much thicker epoxy than the low vis that we were using yesterday. Mixing container. As I say, it's always 2 parts resin to 1 part hardener in the flag and the low vis range of epoxies. Bits of stick. Don't need to spend a fortune on mixing sticks. A quick whiz together that's now usable. We are, however, putting in some workshop mix. This is a mixture of wood flour, silica and T-cell. T-cell is a cellulose fibre, and it replaces chopped strand mat, and we find it better, holds more epoxy, and is far better to tool and finish afterwards. Just as strong. Okay, there we go. I don't know whether you're going to call it peanut butter constituency or whatever it is. You just get to know roughly what it is that you're after as you go along. So we are now going to go spreading. Up the top there. And that is basically it. I'll come back to you when I've got this done.